Hey there, welcome back. It's been actually a couple of days since I recorded these first turns, and welcome to the table. So I think I've reviewed most of the comments people have made, and I feel good that not too many big mistakes or anything like that seems to have been made, and it looks like I caught most of the mistakes I made on my own, which is good. And it's a mark of a great game. Just real briefly here, the mark of a great game in my mind is one that has a rule set that you can understand easily and play mostly mistake-free without much stress or effort. And that's the reason why I love DVG games. And what's crazy is I actually get rules wrong in DVG, especially the B-17. I thought I knew that game really well. I even had Dean Brown watching the video. He's the designer. And it's really funny because both he and I got rules wrong that people found that they got corrected. But the wonderful thing about a solitaire game is in some cases, if you get a rule wrong, nobody cares. But obviously, you want to get as many right as you can because the proper challenge level, is there. So with that being said, we got... we're going to be up. Here's our card that's available. And I'm just looking real quick, but we've only played one card, it looks like. So we only did one turn. I thought we did more than one turn, but maybe we only did one. And so anyways, that's our card. Dang it, I really do think we did more than one, but I guess not. So we get to go first, and... we can add 3 active activists or 2 strikes to any railways. Railways don't hurt the AI player at all, but it does add activists to the board. Unfortunately for us, though, we only have 1 left to add. So not as exciting for us, but let's see what the next one is. And here you can see we're not going to get to go first on that next one. But here you can add 5 times the restraint to, to Raj resources. That's an amazing one in our last game, but we don't get to do that. Or we can subtract twice a die roll from Raj resources, which of course doesn't help us against the AI player. So I'm going to go ahead and put that card back. We're definitely going to take a turn, and we're going to do a full op plus special activity. I'm not worried about them. If they want to do the event, they're more than welcome to. It does let them put activists on the board, so they might just do that. Sorry, I got some coffee here. It's a chilly day here in late April. Quite chilly, in fact. So getting some warm coffee to keep this game energized. So let's figure out what we're going to do. And I know we went through this last time. We've definitely done more than one turn because I know we did the rally command. So I don't know what happened. I only see one card that's been played so far. Unless I put the card in the wrong pile. Yeah, this is bizarre. So was I somehow taking turns and not discarding cards? I don't think I was. So, yeah, that's very, very bizarre. And what I'm trying to explain here is, so when you play the cards, I have a discard pile over here, and then this is these are the campaign cards that aren't in the game. So that's the discard pile there, and then this discard pile here, these are the cards that just never made the cut. So one interesting thing about this game is you don't play with all the events. There's a whole bunch of events that don't make the cut. So I was just looking real quick to see if any of these were, from when I took my turn. And that's the one that's on top there. Add an unrest marker up to 2 Muslim spaces, then remove a base from among the selected. There's only 1 unrest marker on the board, so I don't think anybody did that event. And it was a critical event for 2 of the players. I know for sure when they took their turn, they used the event, which was this one here. So they took a turn, and then they used the event, which says in up to 3 spaces where, I'm sorry, in states up to straight, remove stuff. And I'm pretty sure they did that because I know when we took the Raj turn, we never used the AI cards, which is what I was looking forward to. But my whole reasoning for saying this is I know we went once because we actually did a rally action. I'm just getting concerned because I don't know where the card went. And what I'm concerned about is we may have taken 2 turns on the same card. Like I think we both went, because that's why we're both eligible this turn. We took our turn, and then I took their turn using the same exact card. I really believe that's the case. Because this card is, of course, discarded, but we've taken 2 turns, is what I'm trying to say. So what I can do then is I can just discard this one, which means we're not going to go first. That's the part that sucks. So I'm going to go ahead and discard that one. And you can see that the turn order is exactly the same. So I think that we had the first card, which was this one. We took our turns, and then I ended up taking their turns using the same card, but really their turns took place with this card. So both of these should have been discarded. So we are taking our turn with this card, which means green goes first, not us, the Muslims. And obviously this is a resource one, which doesn't do anything against the AI, but if you were the player, this is a big card. And then this would be the next card. And you can see we go first on the next card. So we might want to defer for this one. In spaces up to restraint, remove. In spaces up to unity, which is 3, by the way, remove an adversary piece, bases last. Then release 5 activists from jail. Well, that's not very helpful to us. But we may still punt. And you'll see why. Because, okay, so it's their turn. And for me to be playing this 2 days later and catch that mistake is actually, I'm impressing myself. But, okay, current event is critical and effective. No. Next eligible would choose a critical event. No, that's us. Will be first eligible in the upcoming card. No, so they're going to do the op plus SA. So that's their choice. Now for us, we either have to do the event or we get a limited operation, which is not very handy. Now if you're the Raj and you pass, you get 3 resources. Now the AI doesn't get anything from that. The revolutionaries actually get 1 resource. And if you're non-violent, you get to move an activist from out of play to available every time you pass. So now you might be wondering, well, why weren't you doing that when it was the AI? The AI doesn't benefit from passing at all. That is actually in the rules, one of the things. So we're going to let them go. And then what we're going to do is looking at this card, you can see we get to go first on the next card. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that and pass. So, all right, so that means I get to move 1 from out of play to available, which is always good. And then we got to do their turn. So let's see what they're going to do. Any Muslim spaces eligible for non-cooperation. And you would think I'd have this memorized by now, but I don't. And then both of the non-violent factions have non-cooperation, and the rules are slightly different for each one. So this one is a space with a protest, activists and a base, plus any spaces with protest and activists up to unity, but each with no Raj control. So there's only 1 protest marker on the board right now, and there are no Muslim activists there. So the answer is no. There's no spaces eligible. So we're going to discard. Grab another one. Any underground guerrillas in Muslim spaces? Yes, there's actually quite a few. Die roll less than or equal to activists in jail. There's none in jail, so we're going to flip this card. So going to do this side. So we're going to do persuade in 2 spaces to activate guerrillas using remove or remove adversary. Okay, so persuade is remove adversary and expose guerrillas. So what they want us to do is activate the guerrillas, which means we're going to expose them. So up to 2 spaces with Muslim League pieces, remove 1 active piece, or activate a guerrilla for every active non-violent piece. The problem is we don't have any active pieces in East Bengal. My camera bumped this. Apologies, let me move that out of the way. So here in East Bengal, we don't have any active pieces, but we could still, use the other side of it. Over here, we have 1 active piece because the base is considered an active piece. So the Muslim base is considered an active piece. So we can activate this guerrilla, which is what they want us to do. I think that allows them to get killed by the Raj. It's a pretty weak action, if you ask me, but that's what they're doing. And this occurs in one max of 2 spaces. Now, the other one is to remove adversaries. So we already used that space. So now we got to come over to this space, and it has to be a space that just has Muslim League pieces. Well, East Bengal has a Muslim League piece. That's this one. So now they're going to remove an adversary and or remove an active piece. So troops and bases are last. Unity -1 if anybody from Congress is removed. Well, they're not going to remove the activist because that's not an active piece. So they're actually going to remove a sepoy. So that's going to go away. They still remain in control because this one's active, that base. So they actually lose control. So this control goes away, and they just lost 2 points. Oh, look at that. That was actually not a bad move on their part. Okay, so are there any protest markers available? Yes, there's 1. So they're going to do civil disobedience to place a protest. And Raj is not the player. So civil disobedience. In each space, place an available protest marker. Flip activists. Then, if desired, move any onto railways, which they're not going to do because we don't have a Raj player. So let's look at their priority chart for where they're going to place protests. We know it's going to be a Muslim space with 2 pop, but let's figure it out. So place protest, as you can see, is not at active opposition, a Muslim space, 2 pop, fewest cubes. So let's see if we, none of them are at active opposition. And remember, that was one of my mistakes in that last game. This is passive opposition, so that means it still qualifies. In the last playthrough, I would have ignored this space, but now I don't. Okay, so we have that. Obviously, they want it to be a Muslim space, which makes sense. And then 2 pop. So that means it's 3 places. It's going to be East, West, or Punjab. And then it says fewest cubes. And you can see there's a clear winner chicken dinner there. So I'm going to go grab a protest. And it goes right here in West Bengal. And this guy flips to active. There was no Raj control there anyways, but that is what they do. And that is their turn. So they get to do this more than just the one time, but we're out of protest markers. They're not allowed to deploy any more protest markers because the restraint is 4. So their turn ends because of that. All right, so we already did our piece where we took the resource. So I'm going to do this. They go over. So now there's 3 of us eligible, and I'm definitely going to be screwing one of them from a turn, which is always pleasurable. And this is the next card. Here you can see we're dead last on this one. Remove up to a die roll of guerrillas from any spaces, then shift restraint -2. Obviously that's decent for the Raj. Shift restraint +2, which would only go up 1. Then subtract twice the restraint from Raj resources. That would actually be brutally painful. However, doesn't really have an impact in this game. So we are first. So now the question is do we care about the event? Because if we're going to go first, they're going to go second. And they're going to probably try to do the event. If we do the op and special activity, they have a limited operation here, and they're going to choose the event if it's effective for them. So let's see what it says. In spaces up to restraint, remove one guerrilla, activist, protest, or unrest marker. That could be up to 4 spaces. So that could hurt us quite a bit. So we could, instead of doing a special activity, we could do an op only, which then really limits them. So let's figure out how we want to do this. The thing that I'm concerned about is they're going to remove, right? In 4 spaces, they're going to remove things. The number one thing that they're going to remove, remember, is according to the AI chart. And at the top of the list is unrest markers, which doesn't hurt us so much. It hurts the revolutionaries. So you can see that there. The unrest marker is going to be the top priority. And then protest is number 3. So that's going to hurt us a little bit as well. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, it might be nice to get some protest markers back so we can place them elsewhere. But that's the point I'm trying to get at, is that I don't think that they're going to actually remove an activist until later. And then they would remove a guerrilla. See, guerrilla is the very last thing they do. So an activist would get removed before a guerrilla. So that's something that... and then here, the player faction means they're going to get rid of whatever I have first. So I may have played that a little bit wrong in the last game, but I did clarify what that means. I think I made a comment that I didn't know what that means before in some previous video. So basically, since I'm the Gandhi player, they're going to remove my pieces first before they're going to try to remove, one of those pieces. That's what that's saying, is basically they're going to screw the player who's playing the game. Okay, so what do we do is the question. So if we prevent them from doing the event, which is the question on the table, then we don't get to do persuade, satyagraha, or negotiate. This one is just moving Gandhi. We don't need to do that. We already moved him. Here we can remove adversaries, exposed guerrillas. It's very similar to the Muslim one. And in fact, it looks exactly the same. We can remove an active piece, or we can activate a guerrilla. I'm not interested in that at all. So negotiate would be the only one that would be even remotely interesting for us. And here we're going to release Gandhi or remove a Muslim state. There aren't any Muslim states. So I'm okay with not doing a special activity at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and screw them out of the event, and we'll go do an operation only. So now, which one are we going to do? Well, I want to get support, obviously. That's the only thing that scores points for us, is to get support. And bear with me for a second. I'm trying to decide if my camera is smudgy or if it's just my view screen. Okay, I'm going to say it's a view screen. Okay, so if we look at our commands here, we did rally last time to get our pieces out, which is done. We can do demonstrate, which lets us move activists and place protests, but there's no protest markers we're allowed to place because the restraint is 4. So civil disobedience is non-cooperation is what we want to do. Civil disobedience would let us place protests, occupy railways. So here we're going to build opposition and shift restraint, which is what we want to do. So spaces with protest and Congress activists with no Raj control. We don't have a crisis, so we have to have no Raj control. First, we shift each space 1 level towards active opposition, then restraint goes -1, which helps us to get more stuff out. So this is the perfect one for us to do. So here we have no Raj control, so we're going to get rid of the passive support, and it's going to shift to neutral. So that's -2 points for them. And then here, again, -2 points for them. And we did that. Oh, it has to be a space with protest. Never mind, this does not have a protest. So I don't get to affect this one. But we did do the other one. And then there's a protest here. But I don't have any Congress activists, so I can't do anything about that. So this wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. but I'm going to go ahead and take away 2 points from them. I at least moved one of them, but the big thing I needed to do is get the restraint to go down, because now I can put out 2 more protest markers. All right, so sorry for the short video here, but I'll come back later and we will figure out what the next player is going to do. And thanks for watching. Stay awesome.